Enough talking about a boring subject, that would be me. Now let's talk about an interesting subject, which is business strategy. Let me start off with this metaphor. To me, uh, the person doing business strategy uh, is a lot like the quarterback of a football team, but not just any quarterback, more of like a player coach, a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning kind of player. And here's why I like to call strategy a football game. A couple of key components. First of all, it recognizes that there are opponents. There are people on the other side, if you will, that are actively trying to frustrate your strategy. There are other people, the officials, running around trying to make sure everybody's playing by the game, rules of the game, but that's kind of tricky sometimes. And then there's a broader audience around you in terms of the fans, if you will, the very stakeholders in the companies as to what's going on, who have many different perspectives, perhaps very much competing perspectives, and some ability to influence perhaps the outcome of the game. And so as Tom Brady or Peyton Manning steps up to the line of scrimmage, they survey the defense, they try to assess what's going on, and they call a play. And then hut hut, ball snapped, and they run a play. And then they measure the results of that play. In football, it's pretty easy to measure the results of the success of a play. And then what do? They get up to the line and they do it again and again and again and again. And that's much like strategy too. It's not a one-shot deal. We did strategy, now let's get on with it. It's a constant iterative process where you're trying something, measuring how it worked, making changes, continuing to do that loop. And so I like to think of it as a football contest. The other reason it's like a football contest is in many of your academic disciplines, you've been studying companies in isolation. Well, this is the accounting perspective, this is the finance perspective, this is the marketing perspective, this is the OB perspective. But in strategy, it's the whole team. We play a game. So it's focused on taking these various perspectives, blending them together into a coherent team that then meets the objective. And so you can see why I'm so passionate about this course, because I believe it's going to teach you the broad elements of strategy and how you link the various business functions together, how you view the world from a business perspective, and then how you call a play, run the play, measure how you did, and then get on with it. Let's talk how the course is going to run procedurally. I've got on your screen a copy of a sample syllabus. The one that we may be actually using in your course may be different with the dates and the all. So just take this as an example. So there's 4 basic modules that I've created. And in each module, you see on there are readings assigned. These are chapters out of our textbook, an outstanding textbook. There are some additional PDF resources to be read that will be on D2L as well. And then you see over in the due date. And so what I've done is I've created due dates for each of the 4 modules where everything in that module has to be submitted by that due date. Certainly you can submit things earlier. In the case of discussion questions, you're going to have to submit things earlier. There are a couple of basic assignments. One is the strategic thought. And there's all of these assignments are explained through additional materials on D2L. The strategic thoughts are a static between you and me. You write a paper, I comment on your paper, and these are short papers, incidentally, where I'm asking you to apply the material. In all cases, I'm asking you to apply this material to the real world, which is one of the reasons I love teaching this class so much, is I'm constantly fed new material by the real world. So you have the strategic thought assignments. There's 6 total in the course, and you can see they're divided up into each of the modules. The next assignment that occurs in each module are discussion questions. Again, 6 total, with them coming more later in the later modules. And this is where I'm just going to throw a question out. For example, the example that I used in the current set of materials is, has Facebook stock peaked? Which suggests, has the market overvalued in the past the true economic value of Facebook, and is it likely never to pass that point again? there will be people that have opinions on both sides of that, not just opinions, but informed assessments. And so I'll throw that topic out there, and then we'll have a dialogue, and that's why it's called a discussion question, and those will be conducted via the forums, or I'm sorry, the discussion forums. Then we're going to have 2 exams. These exams are going to be a little bit different in that you'll see in D2L the essay questions are already available. And what happens is I'll just pick some of those essay questions to present to you onto the exam. The exam will be a closed book exam. It will be in a proctored facility so that you will not be able to access your notes. And then in each exam, there will also be an additional question that you don't have in advance, but trust me, if you've studied and prepared the questions, you are ready to answer this question. And it's always a current events articles, usually out of the Wall Street Journal, where you can, or where I'm going to task you to take the material and apply it in something where you didn't necessarily see it coming. So you have to do a little thinking on your feet, which is an element of strategy as well. So there's 2 of those exams. The last major component of the course is the business strategy game simulation, and you're going to love this. Specifically, why do I do the business strategy game simulation? It does a couple of important things. First of all, it brings the concepts of the course to life. You're not just going to be talking about these things, you're actually going to be doing some of them. Second, it challenges your execution skills. In other words, you're going to have to make real decisions, real analysis, and you're going to see whether you can actually interpret this material and make coherent sense. And third, and it's related to the second, is it does a very important closing of the loop process. You're going to be bombarded with all this new information to learn the simulation, and then you get a lot of data. It's your job to take that data and analyze it, and each round make changes, perhaps subtle, perhaps dramatic, into your strategy and your execution to try to maximize your performance. We'll talk a lot more about this later, but safe to say you're going to really have a good time, and this is going to take a time commitment on your part, but I believe that you will train your brain to synthesize information in very important strategic ways through the simulation. And so you can see from the slide that we're going to be doing this for a long time. There's going to be a total of 7 decision rounds plus a couple of practice rounds, and this will start in October. In fact, you'll notice that Module 2 and Module 3 have much larger windows than did Modules 1 and 2, and that's because we're doing the simulation in the middle, and you can see we'll get on a rhythm of simulations due every Thursday evening, and the module assignments due on Wednesday evenings. And the simulation will cap off with you making a video presentation that explains your performance. Again, much more details on that. So we're going to take the textbook for the foundations, and a lot of also I have online videos to explain the textbook concepts and to extend the textbook in different directions. So that's the material, the textbook and the video and the readings, that's the material. Then I'm going to ask you to apply that to specific questions through the strategic thoughts and the discussion questions, and then apply it again in the business strategy game. Like I said, you're really going to have a good time. I thoroughly enjoy teaching this course, and I trust that when it's all said and done, you will say you learned more in the strategy class than any other course you've ever taken, unless you've taken a former or previous course from me, and of course then I want it to be a tie. Enough of this introduction stuff. I encourage you to dive in. Contact me if you have questions.